Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Y'all, let's get into episode 6 of Savage Beauty season 1, okay? Everything that I'm saying in this video is in my opinion. The Copyright Act of 1976, Section 107 gives me fair use to this review that I'm about to do, and this is for entertainment purposes only. Okay. Episode 6 opens with Don looking at news articles saying that he fell off, and he knows there will be more once the info about him and Grace hits the news. Z says that she just thought he needed to know about the baby. Don says he needs something big to happen to overshadow what's about to come, and Z wants to know like what, and he turns to her and says, "We're going to get married by the end of the week," and Z is looking worried. Pila is telling Grace that she is going to have to apologize to Tando or she's going to be on her own. Now, Tando, she comes home looking stressed and Linda wants to know what's wrong. Tando tells her, "I know you're not going to like this, but you have to hear it. You have to hear me out. Don is going to marry Z." Linda says she can't let that happen. So she tries to call him, but she is still blocked. Linda tells her that she found the girl who recorded them and she has some info. And Tando is like, "So you still think that Z is behind this?" And she says, "Yes, I just knew that there was something off about that girl." So the next day at breakfast, Z is telling Dawn that she feels like, the wedding of the decade should be given, a little more time to plan, like 3 months. And that way it'll give Dawn more publicity. Dawn says, "Nah, at the end of the week, because he's not gonna give Grace time to spin the story, and he sure isn't gonna wait 3 months to have a meeting in the bedroom with Zeke." When he said that, I thought she was about to drop that glass. Then she sees one of the helpers bringing her bags in, and Dawn told them to take her bags to the main bedroom. Dawn tells Z that he has something for her, and it's a ring, and it was a nice ring too. And he told her to show it off at the shoot, and she said, "I don't have a photo shoot today." He said, "Our wedding announcement photo shoot." And Z, she was looking like she done bit out more than she can handle. But her brother told her not to do it, but she wanted to do what she wanted to do. So later on that day, Grace and Fila arrive at Linda's house so that Grace can apologize for the loss of her baby. Linda is confused and wanted to know why was Grace apologizing. And Tando says because it wasn't a miscarriage. She put a PILL in my drink. Baby, Linda was about to tear Grace's head off. Grace said that she was sorry and she only did it because she was angry with Don. Linda asked Fila if he knew, and he said, "No, I just wanted her to apologize because Z recorded your conversation before we got put out." And Linda says, "What?" And Grace says, "Yes, we got put out." Linda tells them that she thinks it's best that they both leave. Then she goes out to comfort Tando. She asks her, "Why didn't you tell me?" And she says Grace would have made my life a living furnace. But Linda told her that she would have protected her. But the way Tando sees it, if she would have had kids with Dawn, they wouldn't be together. And while they were talking, Linda's phone chimes, and it was Zandy texting her to say that she'll help them find out who Bonga is. I was like, "Oh, mercy, this is too much." So Linda leaves to go meet Zandy. Child, they over at the photo shoot, and Z looks so miserable, but her dress, that dress was gorgeous. Next, we see Z on the phone with her brother, letting him know that Dawn wants to marry her at the end of the week. Bonga wants to know how is she going to get out of that, because it seems like we're losing ourselves in this plan. And he tells her that there's something that she needs to know. Like he wanted to tell her that he had talked to a detective, but she interrupts and says that she has a plan. And Bongo told her, "You remember at our sister's cleansing, you said that Dawn would have to suffer, but it seems like we are the ones that's suffering." And when he said cleansing, she was like, "Cleansing. Okay. I think I know how I can get a confession out of Dawn." And she told Bonga, that she'll talk to him later. So over at Pila's penthouse, he's trying to help Grace find the best divorce attorney so that she can start over. Grace says that she doesn't even think she has the energy to start over. She told Pila about how they started Bhengu and how it was 50-50. But then Don went behind her back and put everything in his name. And Pila says, well, isn't that a good enough reason to get a divorce and get half of what's yours? And she said, half? I don't do half. I want it all. And you're going to help me run Bhengu Beauty the right way. Now, Bonga is on his way to work, but his phone rings and it's Linda's friend telling Bonga that there was something wrong with V and that he was the only one in her contacts who answered. So she gives him the address to where V was supposed to be, and it looks like he's going to go over there. And I'm sitting here like, these folks stress me out. And I don't know what it is about Linda, but there's something about her I just don't like, and I don't know what it is. But Z and Don, they're out to dinner, and she tells him that she feels like there's a dark cloud over them from what Grace did to Tando, and that she's still having nightmares of Grace trying to drown her. So she thinks that a cleansing would be a fresh start. Don said they don't need to be doing all that. But Z tells them that a cleansing would make her feel more protected. So Don agrees. Now, Bonga, he has pulled up to this address they gave him to where V is supposed to be. And it's an old rundown building. And I'm like, Bonga, your red flags aren't going off. Why would you go there? He goes in and yells around, but no one answers. And then his phone rings again, and the girl asks him if he was close. He told her to put V on the phone, but the girl says she can't because she OD'd, but she's gaining consciousness. And he was like, V don't do DRUGS. And now he's getting suspicious, and he leaves. Dawn and Z, they go over to get the cleanser, right? Dawn tells Z to leave, but she has positioned her phone to record the cleansing. The cleanser, the diviner, what they call them, was telling Dawn that the ancestors saw two crossroads, but there was also a road that showed children in an abandoned building and a fire. Dawn said he don't know nothing about that, and no matter what all that lady said she saw, Don denied it. Then he stormed out of the room and told Z to get in the car. The lady gave Z her phone back and told her that she knew that she had been through a lot in life, but don't ever ask me to lie on the ancestors again. Linda goes back home and she tells Tando that they lost their contact. And Tando asks her why not try to find an address linked to his phone number or somebody else's that's linked to his number. And I was like, baby, if this show don't hurry up, it go off because y'all making me tired. Because I want Z and Bunga to get justice. I just don't want them to be found out. So Don called his own reader, and she comes to him and she says that there's a vengeful spirit coming after him, but it's protected by pure souls. Dawn wanted to know if she could help him, but she said she didn't think so, and that, until, those pure souls ain't around, it ain't much that she can do. But he was like, you'll be well compensated. And she was like, I can help you, but only if the person reveals itself. So Z was standing outside the door listening, and she started walking off when they was coming off the balcony. The lady left some drinks for them to take for the cleansing, but I don't think Z is going to take hers. I know I would. But she calls and tells Bonga that Don thinks the wedding will fix his reputation. And Bonga tells her that he talked to a detective who said he was going to investigate and that he was a good man and he was a friend of his boss. And Z, she don't like it. He was like, won't you let me take care of us for a change? But she just don't like it. But she said, listen, I still got to move forward with Don because I don't want him to get suspicious. Bonga meets up with the detective. The detective says that he spoke with Bonga's boss at the security company, and he said that this whole thing has caused Bonga to be under a lot of stress, and he asked him if he wanted to take time off. Bonga says no, because I'm not stressed. The detective steps in and tells him, you'll want to take some time off. And now it'll pay and a bonus. And Bonga, he was looking so nervous and so sad because I know he know that somebody that got in the detective's ear, and it probably was Don. He walks away and leaves a message on Z's phone to let her know that he really messed up and he needs to disappear for a while, but he needs to see her before he leaves. Dawn and Z are at the wedding venue going over the details, but then Dawn gets a call. He has to leave and he tells the coordinator to take care of Z because what baby wants, baby gets. And I'm trying to figure out if that call had to do with Grace or Bonga. Now over at Linda's, she gets an address, which I think is Bonga's address because she told Tando that it was in Soweto. And there is a tower near Bonga's with the same name on it. And she said that the last name of the property is connected to a Selepe. So her and Linda head over that way. So now Bonga, he done pulled up at home. He got his head on a swivel. He takes his head out of his bag and then he goes in the house. And then baby, you hear a voice that says, "How did you know Kolebe?" I had to hit pause on the TV because I was like, this is too much. Now I know who the call to Dawn was about. So Bonga says that he doesn't know what he's talking about. So Dawn asks him, well, why are you bothering the detective about Kolebe's passing? So how much do you want? Bonga snickers and says, I don't want your money. I just want to see you and Grace in prison for what you did. Dawn wants to know exactly what did him and Grace do. Bonga says, I am one of the kids you tested the bleaching cream on, and then you tried to burn us alive. Dawn says nonchalantly, you survived the fire? Bonga pulls out his piece because he's getting pissed off. And he says, Dawn, it's over. Dawn tells him, like, man, don't take me out. Because I don't remember nothing. And Bunga's like, you don't remember? You don't remember when I tried to run away and you burned me like an animal? Dawn says no. And that's making Bonga even more mad. And I'm like, Bonga, whatever you do, please don't say nothing about Z. So Dawn apologizes and tries to walk up on Bonga. Bonga tells him, stop walking up on me. But Dawn was like, go ahead and do it. I deserve to be punished. I was like, no. He's manipulating you. Don't listen. And Dawn just keeps walking up and telling Bonga that, I know I destroyed your life, but I don't want you to, to destroy it even more. And he tells him that he'll repent. And it seems like Bonga was falling for it. And Dawn tells him to lower his piece. Then he gets close enough to grab it and they tussle and then they go off. But then the camera pans back outside. So I don't know who got hit. Z is being fitted, for her dress, and she asks could she have her phone, and then she hears the message from Bonga, and she tells them to get me out of this dress. Somebody help me get out of this dress. So then the scene cuts back over to Bonga's, and you see Don coming out of the house, and he has a blood stain on his side. But up the street, you can see Linda and Tando pulling up, and Tando's like, isn't that your dad? And Linda's like, what's he doing here? And Don's driver like, ain't that your daughter? And he's like, what is she doing over here? So she pulls up beside him and she's trying to, get him to stop and listen to her. But Don, he don't see it for Linda no more, right? So the driver, he pulls off and then Linda turns around to follow Don, right? Now, Z is on her way to Bonga's and she's calling him back to back, but there's no answer. Now, over there with Grace and Pila, they're having a meeting with the board. She had them to open their folders, which contain confidential medical records for Don. She tells them that she has been hiding Don's health condition for a year, that he had fired 2 CEOs in less than a month, and that he is about to marry a younger employee. She said that he was mentally unfit to lead, and they need to take action before he runs Bhengu into the ground. Z finally makes it to Bonga's. She knocks on the door. There's no answer. She uses her key, and when she opens the door, Bonga is laying on the ground. I thought he was gone until she turned him over. He tells her that Don did it, and he apologized for going to the detective. Z calls 911, but of course they're taking too long, so she puts him in the car. The next scene shows Don pulling up at the house and Linda was right behind him. She jumps out of the car and tries to tell him that she thinks Bonga is connected to Z, but Don refuses to hear it. She tries to tell him again, but Z I don't think Linda is understanding that her dad wants no parts of her. And she tried to tell him again, and he said, say something again about her and watch what happens. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So he said, this ain't even about Z. This is about what Grace and I did. Linda wants to know, what did they do? And Don says, it ain't your business. She's like, okay, but please don't marry Zinhle because she doesn't trust her. Don says, who are you to tell me what to do? Aren't you still screwing your father's ex-wife? And Linda says it's because she loves Tando. It's not about that, she loves her. And Don told her to get the hell away from his house. The next scene is Z rushing Bonga to the hospital. It's like he's trying his best to hold on. She trying her best to keep him woke. But then he starts saying, my sister. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's seeing the sister that passed away. So then Z pulls over and he's just slumped over. She's trying to wake him up, but he gone. He is gone. And then it goes back to the opening scene from the very first episode of the lady rushing in the house, washing the blood off her hands and getting in the shower. And she puts on her makeup and then she grabs her piece and now she's ready for revenge. Don, he's sitting down having dinner and he's calling for Regina, but you can hear Z say that she sent them all home. And she walks in dressed exactly the way Don likes, baby. And she said that she thought they could have dessert alone. Don says if he was to DIE that night, he wouldn't mind Z being the last thing that he saw. And she said, be careful what you wish for. Don tries to kiss her again and Z gives him one of the juices that the cleanser left for them. And Z made sure that he drank it all. And I was like, I think she might have put something in there. And baby, she did. He tells her to call the ambulance. She said that she wasn't calling nobody until he confesses to what he did to them as kids and how Bhengu Beauty got started. She told him to confess. And Dawn says that it was all Grace's idea. She said, but you were the one who set the house on fire. And Z said, and you locked us in there. So over at Grace and Pila's, they're celebrating because Grace is now the new CEO of Bhengu Beauty. Back over at that mansion though, Don, he does confess and he tells her to call 911 before he passes away. And she told him to stop being so dramatic because he was only reacting because he was high. That was all it was. And when he realized that, he jumped up and tried to attack Z, but she swung and that made him hit his head on the side of the table and he was out. So she think he out. And she was trying to wake him up. And I'm like, girl, just take your freaking laptop and run. Why are you trying to get him up? Leave, like now. She decides to get a rug. She rolled Don up in a rug and she done put him in a trunk. And she's trying to leave the house, but she can't even get out the driveway because that doggone Indu has pulled up at the mansion. So he blocking her in. And I was like, why did you come back? Like, why did you come back? Whew. And he squint his eyes to look in the car and he sees Z and she see him. She's like, oh, F. Dawn, baby, wakes up in the trunk. And then that's how the episode ends. I was like, oh, baby, these folks have stressed me out so bad. But y'all, get down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I'll talk to y'all later.